I never thought I'd be standing in a lawyer's office at 63 years old, holding a locked metal box that my late wife had hidden from me for over 2 decades. The lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Cheng, slid a small brass key across her mahogany desk. "Mr. Holloway, your wife left explicit instructions. This box was only to be given to you 6 months after her passing. I'm sorry for your loss." 6 months. Elizabeth had been gone for exactly 6 months, and the grief still hit me like a freight train every morning. We'd been married for 38 years. She died in what the doctors called a sudden cardiac event while I was away at a forestry conference in Vancouver. By the time I got the call and rushed back to our home in Kelowna, British Columbia, she was already gone. I turned the key. Inside the box were 3 items: a USB drive, a handwritten letter, and a photograph I'd never seen before. My hands trembled as I unfolded the letter. "My dearest Robert," it began in Elizabeth's careful cursive. "If you're reading this, then I'm gone, and Patricia has done as I asked. I'm so sorry to burden you with this, but you need to know the truth about what I discovered. Watch the video on this USB drive. Everything is explained there. Trust no one until you do. Not even our son. I love you always. E. Not even our son? What the hell was she talking about? Our son, Marcus, was a successful real estate developer in Toronto. He'd flown out for the funeral, stayed a week, then headed back to his life. We talked every Sunday. What could Elizabeth possibly mean? I looked at the photograph. It showed Elizabeth standing outside what looked like a psychiatric facility. The sign read, "Clearwater Mental Health Center, Private Wing." She was wearing a visitor's badge. The timestamp on the photo was from 3 years ago. "Do you have somewhere private I can watch this?" I asked Patricia. She led me to a small conference room and left me alone. I plugged the USB drive into my laptop with shaking hands. Elizabeth's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, older than I remembered her looking even a year before her death. There was something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. "Robert, my love," she began. "I'm recording this because I need you to know the truth, but I can't tell you while I'm alive. It would put you in danger. By the time you see this, I'll either be dead from natural causes, or, well, I hope it was natural causes." My blood ran cold. 3 years ago, I started noticing something wrong with Marcus. You were away so often for work, you didn't see it. The changes were subtle at first. He started asking questions about our finances, about the property, about our will. Then I noticed he was different when he visited. Cold, calculating. It wasn't like him. I paused the video. "Marcus, cold?" He was always warm with us, always concerned about our well-being. He'd been the one who suggested we update our will 2 years ago, said it was important for estate planning. Elizabeth and I had split everything 50-50. The house, the investments, the small inheritance from my parents. It all went to Marcus. I hit play. So I hired a private investigator. "Robert, what I found." Elizabeth's voice cracked. "Our son has been visiting someone at Clearwater Mental Health Center for the past 4 years, a woman named Dr. Simone Devereaux. She's not a patient, Robert. She's a psychiatrist there, but she specializes in something else. Something terrible." Elizabeth pulled out documents, holding them up to the camera. "Dr. Devereaux runs a program that's not officially sanctioned. She teaches people how to psychologically manipulate their family members, how to isolate them, how to make them seem incompetent, how to gain control of their assets. It's elder abuse, Robert. Systematic, calculated elder abuse. And Marcus has been her student for 4 years. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. The investigator found that Marcus has been building a case to have you declared mentally incompetent. He's been documenting every time you forget something, every time you misplace your keys. He's been talking to our neighbors, our friends, planting seeds of doubt about your cognitive abilities. And Robert, I found emails. He's been in contact with a lawyer about having you committed to a care facility so he can take power of attorney." The room started to spin. I had to pause the video and put my head between my knees. This couldn't be real. This had to be some kind of mistake, some paranoid delusion Elizabeth had before she died. But she seemed so lucid, so certain. I forced myself to keep watching. I confronted him about it 6 months ago. He denied everything at first. Then he admitted it. He said we were getting old, that we couldn't manage our own affairs anymore, that he was doing this for our own good. But Robert, I saw his eyes when he said it. There was nothing there. No love. No remorse. Just cold calculation. He said if I told you, he'd have me committed instead. That Dr. Devereaux had given him all the tools he needed to make me look unstable. Elizabeth wiped tears from her eyes. So I started gathering evidence. Everything is on this USB drive. Bank records showing Marcus has been slowly siphoning money from our joint account through a fake investment scheme he convinced us to join. Recordings of phone calls where he discusses his plans with Dr. Devereaux. Documents from Clearwater showing the program he's enrolled in. And Robert, there's more. She pulled out another document. I had my blood tested by an independent lab, not our family doctor, Dr. Morrison, because I suspected he might be involved. The lab found traces of a medication called digoxin in my system. It's a heart medication, Robert. I don't have a heart condition. Someone has been giving it to me in small doses. Too much digoxin can cause cardiac arrest. And I found a bottle of it in Marcus's old bedroom, hidden in the back of his closet the last time he visited. Oh God. Oh God, no. I don't know how much time I have. I've stopped eating anything I haven't prepared myself, stopped drinking anything that's been out of my sight. But I'm scared, Robert. If something happens to me, you need to know it wasn't natural. You need to get this evidence to the police. And you need to protect yourself. The video ended. I sat in that conference room for 20 minutes, unable to move. My wife had spent the last months of her life living in fear, knowing our son was trying to kill her, unable to tell me because she was protecting me. And I'd been oblivious, too focused on work, too trusting. I called Marcus that night. I needed to hear his voice, needed to convince myself this was all some terrible mistake. Hey, Dad, he answered cheerfully. How are you holding up? I'm okay, son. Just had a rough day. Been thinking about your mom a lot. I know, Dad. I miss her too. Listen, I've been thinking. That house is too much for you to handle alone. All those stairs, the maintenance. Why don't you come stay with me for a while? We can put the house on the market. Get you set up in a nice condo near me. Wouldn't that be better? My throat tightened. I'm not ready to sell the house, Marcus. It's got too many memories. There was a pause. When he spoke again, his tone had shifted slightly. Harder. Dad, I'm just worried about you. You're getting older. What if you fall? What if you forget to turn off the stove? I think we need to have a serious conversation about your future care needs. Future care needs. At 63, when I still hiked 10 kilometers every weekend and managed a small forestry consulting business. I'm fine, Marcus. I appreciate your concern, but I'm capable of taking care of myself. Are you? Because Mrs. Patterson next door mentioned you seemed confused last week when you were getting your mail. Said you couldn't remember which box was yours. I had never been confused about my mailbox. Mrs. Patterson was a gossip, but she wasn't a liar, which meant Marcus had either paid her to say that, or he was making it up entirely. I need to go, son. I'll talk to you later. I hung up before he could respond. The next morning, I went to the RCMP detachment in Kelowna. I brought the USB drive, the documents, everything. The officer who took my statement was a young constable named Jamie Wu. He listened patiently, but I could see the skepticism in his eyes. Mr. Holloway, these are serious allegations. We'll need to investigate this thoroughly, but I have to be honest with you. Elder abuse cases involving family members are difficult to prove, especially when it's word against word. It's not word against word. I have recordings. I have financial documents. I have evidence of poisoning. We'll look into it. But I need you to understand. Your son could claim your wife was suffering from dementia when she made these recordings, that she was paranoid, unstable, and if he's been documenting concerns about your cognitive state. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. I understood. Marcus had set this up perfectly. Any evidence against him could be dismissed as the ravings of two elderly people losing their grip on reality. What about the digoxin? That's physical evidence. Your wife passed 6 months ago, Mr. Holloway. Any trace of the medication would be long gone from her system. We'd need to exhume her body for testing, and that requires significant evidence to justify. I'm sorry. I left the police station feeling helpless. Elizabeth had known this would happen. That's why she'd gathered so much evidence, why she'd been so careful. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus called me every day. The conversations followed the same pattern. He'd express concern about my well-being, suggest I needed help managing my affairs, mention things he claimed proved I was declining, a forgotten doctor's appointment I'd never made, a bill I supposedly hadn't paid that I had proof of paying, conversations with friends where I'd apparently seemed confused, except those friends denied saying any such thing when I called them. He was building his case in real time, and I could feel the walls closing in. Then I got a call from Dr. Morrison, my family doctor of 15 years. "Robert, I need you to come in for an evaluation. I've had some concerns brought to my attention about your cognitive health." "Who brought these concerns to you?" "Your son called me. He's very worried about you. He mentioned several incidents that suggest you might be experiencing early-stage dementia. Now, I'm not saying that's the case, but I'd like to run some tests, just to be safe. I made the appointment because refusing would only make me look worse. But I knew what was happening. Marcus was building a paper trail. Once Dr. Morrison had documented concerns, Marcus could use that to petition for guardianship. I needed help. Real help. Someone who couldn't be manipulated or bought. I called my younger brother, David. He lived in Calgary, worked as an accountant, and had always been the more level-headed of us two. I hadn't told him about Elizabeth's video because I didn't want to drag him into this mess, but I was running out of options. "Dave, I need you to listen to me, really listen, and I need you to believe me." I told him everything. I sent him copies of all the evidence. He was silent for a long moment after I finished. "Rob, this is Jesus. This is insane. Are you absolutely sure about this?" I watched Elizabeth's video. I saw the fear in her eyes. "Our son poisoned her, Dave, and now he's coming for me." Another pause. Okay, I believe you. What do you need me to do?" "I need a witness. Someone Marcus doesn't know is involved. I need you to help me document everything, build a case the police can't ignore. And I need you to be my backup plan if he tries to have me committed." David flew out the next day. He stayed in a hotel, not at my house, and we met in public places. We went through every piece of evidence Elizabeth had gathered, organized it, cross-referenced it. David used his accounting skills to trace the money Marcus had stolen. It was over $200,000 over 3 years, funneled through a fake investment company called Clearwater Holdings. The name alone made me sick. Then David had an idea. "We need to get Dr. Devereaux on record. If we can prove this program exists, that Marcus was part of it, that's the smoking gun." "How do we do that?" "She's not going to just confess." "No, but she might if she thinks she's talking to a potential client." David called Clearwater Mental Health Center, posing as someone interested in Dr. Devereaux's specialized consulting services. He said a mutual friend had referred him, that he needed help managing a difficult family situation involving elderly parents. Dr. Devereaux agreed to meet with him. David wore a wire. It wasn't legally admissible without her consent, but we needed to know what we were dealing with. The meeting lasted 45 minutes. When David came back to my house afterward, his face was pale. "Rob, you need to hear this." Dr. Devereaux had been remarkably frank once she thought David was a paying client. She explained her program in detail, how she taught people to systematically undermine their family members' credibility, how to create a paper trail of incompetence, how to isolate victims from support systems, how to use medication to create symptoms that mimicked cognitive decline or mental illness. She even mentioned Marcus by name. I had a very successful client recently. His mother was quite resistant, but he managed the situation beautifully. Unfortunate about her passing, but these things happen when elderly people are under stress. At least he was able to protect his father from making any poor financial decisions in his grief. David had it all recorded. "We need to go to the police again," David said. "This is confession to conspiracy, possibly accessory to murder." But I knew it wasn't enough. The recording was illegal. Dr. Devereaux would deny everything. We needed something stronger. That's when I remembered the bank records. Elizabeth had documented every transaction Marcus had made through Clearwater Holdings. If we could prove the company was fake, that the money went directly to Marcus, we could charge him with fraud at minimum. And fraud charges would give the police reason to investigate further. David and I spent 3 days building an ironclad case. We contacted every investor Marcus had supposedly put our money with. None of them existed. We traced the bank accounts. The money went to Clearwater Holdings, sat there for a few days, then was transferred to an account in Marcus's name. We compiled everything into a comprehensive report and took it back to the RCMP. This time, we didn't go to Constable Wu. We went straight to a detective who specialized in financial crimes. Detective Sarah Brennan was in her 40s, sharp and thorough. She listened to our presentation for over an hour, taking notes, asking pointed questions. Mr. Holloway, this is significant. If what you're alleging is true, your son has committed fraud, possibly elder abuse, and there's enough here to warrant investigating your wife's death as suspicious. I'm going to need to bring in our major crimes unit. It took 2 months. 2 months of Marcus calling me daily, increasingly frustrated that I wouldn't agree to sell the house or sign any powers of attorney. 2 months of me playing along, pretending I didn't know, while wearing a wire every time we spoke on the phone. 2 months of David sleeping on my couch because we both knew if I was alone, Marcus might escalate. 2 months of gathering evidence while Detective Brennan's team dug into every aspect of Marcus's life. They found the Clearwater Holdings accounts. They found the payments to Dr. Devereaux, over $50,000 over 4 years. They found emails between Marcus and Dr. Devereaux discussing managing the Elizabeth situation. They exhumed Elizabeth's body. The tissue samples showed elevated levels of digoxin, far beyond what natural causes could explain. And they found Marcus had purchased digoxin online using a fake name, shipped to a P.O. box in Kelowna. The arrest happened on a Tuesday morning. I watched from my living room window as RCMP officers pulled up to the house Marcus had rented in town for his extended visit to help Dad. He'd been staying in Kelowna for 3 weeks, escalating his efforts to get me to sign documents. They arrested Dr. Devereaux the same day. Turns out Marcus wasn't her only client. She had 17 other people enrolled in her program, all of them learning how to exploit their elderly relatives. The trial took a year. Marcus tried every defense his lawyers could think of. He claimed Elizabeth had been mentally unstable, that she'd poisoned herself to frame him. He claimed the money he'd taken was legitimate investment returns. He claimed he'd only been trying to protect me from my own declining faculties. But the evidence was overwhelming. The emails, the recordings, the digoxin, the fake company, the testimony from other victims of Dr. Devereaux's program. The jury took 4 hours to convict him on all counts: first-degree murder, fraud, and elder abuse. He got life in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years. Dr. Devereaux got 15 years. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt like justice had been served. But mostly, I just felt empty. My son was going to die in prison. My wife was gone. And I was alone in a house full of memories of a life that had been built on a lie. The thing is, I don't know when Marcus changed. Was he always capable of this? Or did something break in him along the way? Did we fail him as parents? Did we miss signs that he was struggling, that he needed help? I'll never know. He refuses to see me, refuses to take my calls. The last time I saw him was at the sentencing hearing, and he looked at me with such hatred that I barely recognized him. David tells me I need to move on, to sell the house and start fresh somewhere new. Maybe he's right, but this house is where Elizabeth and I built our life together, where we raised Marcus, where we had 38 years of love and laughter and ordinary happiness. I can't let Marcus take that from me too, so I stay. I tend Elizabeth's garden. I hike the trails we used to hike together. I volunteer at a local organization that helps victims of elder abuse, because I learned that what happened to us happens to thousands of families every year. The numbers are staggering. 1 in 6 elderly Canadians experiences some form of abuse, and 90% of the time, it's committed by a family member. I speak at community centers, at senior groups, anywhere that will have me. I tell our story. I warn people about the signs to look for, the isolation, the financial irregularities, the sudden concerns about cognitive decline, the pressure to sign documents or make changes to wills. I tell them what Elizabeth told me in that video. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to question your own children if they're pushing too hard for control of your life. And I tell them the hardest lesson I learned. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love us the most are capable of the worst betrayals. But that doesn't mean we stop trusting everyone. It means we trust wisely, we verify, we protect ourselves while still remaining open to genuine love and connection. Elizabeth saved me, even from beyond the grave. She spent the last months of her life terrified and alone, gathering evidence, planning for my protection. She could have told me, part of me wishes she had, but I understand why she didn't. She was protecting me the only way she knew how. I visit her grave every Sunday. I bring fresh flowers, usually the wildflowers she loved from the trails we used to hike. I tell her about my week, about the people I've helped, about the lives we've changed by sharing our story. And I tell her I'm sorry. Sorry I didn't see what was happening. Sorry I wasn't there to protect her. Sorry that in trying to give our son everything, we somehow created a monster. But mostly, I tell her thank you. Thank you for loving me enough to endure that fear alone. Thank you for being strong enough to gather evidence, even when you knew it might cost you your life. Thank you for giving me the tools to survive this, to seek justice, to help others. The house feels different now, quieter, lonelier, but it's still ours. Elizabeth's presence is in every room, every photograph, every carefully chosen piece of furniture. Marcus doesn't get to take that from us. I'm 64 years old now. I've got good years left in me. Elizabeth made sure of that. She made sure I'd have the chance to grow old, to live fully, to make something meaningful from this tragedy. Some people ask me if I've forgiven Marcus. The honest answer is I don't know. There are days when I can almost feel compassion for him, can almost understand that something in him was broken that led him down this path. There are other days when I'm so angry I can barely breathe. When I think about what he did to Elizabeth, the fear she must have felt, the loneliness of knowing her own son wanted her dead. Forgiveness is complicated. It's not a switch you flip, it's a process, and I'm not sure I'll ever get to the end of it. What I do know is this: I won't let what he did define the rest of my life. I won't let it make me bitter or closed off or afraid. Elizabeth wouldn't want that. She fought too hard to give me a future for me to waste it on hatred. So I live. I help others. I honor her memory by being the man she loved, the man she believed I could be, even in the darkest moments. And on quiet evenings, when the sun sets over the mountains and the house settles into familiar creaks and sighs, I can almost feel her beside me, almost hear her voice, almost believe that love, real love, endures beyond death, beyond betrayal, beyond everything we lose. That's what I choose to hold on to. Not the ending, but the 38 years that came before it, the life we built together, the love that was real, even if what came after tried to destroy it. Because in the end, that's all any of us really have. The love we give, the lives we touch, the legacy we leave behind. Marcus took my wife, but he couldn't take what we had together. He couldn't erase 38 years of genuine happiness, and that has to be enough. If you're reading this, if you're watching this story unfold and seeing pieces of your own life in it, please hear me. It's never too late to ask for help. It's never too late to question what doesn't feel right. Your instincts exist for a reason. Trust them. Document everything. Keep records. Don't sign anything you don't fully understand. Don't let anyone, not even your own children, pressure you into giving up control of your life before you're ready. And if you see signs that someone you love is being abused, speak up. Don't assume someone else will handle it. Don't convince yourself it's not your business. Elder abuse thrives in silence, in the assumption that families can handle their own problems behind closed doors. We need to talk about this. We need to acknowledge that this happens, that it's happening right now to someone's parent, someone's grandparent, someone who deserves to age with dignity and safety. Elizabeth can't tell her story, but I can tell it for her. And if even one person sees this and recognizes the warning signs in their own life, if even one person gets help before it's too late, then maybe her death won't have been completely in vain. That's what keeps me going. That's what gets me out of bed every morning. The possibility that our tragedy can prevent someone else's. And maybe, just maybe, that's the real legacy. Not the money or the house or any of the material things we spent our lives accumulating, but the difference we can make in other people's lives, even after we're gone. Elizabeth made that difference. She saved me, and now I'm trying to save others. It's not the life either of us planned, but it's the life I have. And I'm going to make it matter. I'm going to make her proud.